Well, welcome to the Excel in Retirement podcast, where we help good people make wise financial decisions so that they can excel in retirement. Your guide is David Treese, a financial advisor who shares his expertise to help you achieve greater peace of mind about your finances today and have the information you need to create a plan for your future so that you can excel in retirement. I'm the host of the show, Andy Traub, and today is the first of a three-part set of episodes that will equip you to have one of the most important conversations or set of conversations in your life with your heirs. So let's go ahead and dive in. Thanks for joining us, David.
Hey, thanks, Andy. I'm excited to do this.
So we have some very specific, prescriptive things we're going to share in the next three episodes. And the first one is what kind of conversations you need to have, and there's an order to these. So what are the kinds of conversations you need to have with your heirs, which don't necessarily have to be your children, about your finances and preparing them so that your ideal wishes happen as close as you can for when you're gone. The very first conversation is not about the money necessarily. It's more of a values-based discussion. So why is that important to have first?
It's super important to have a values-based discussion because we want our kids or whoever's going to inherit the money to understand the hard work and the dedication it took for us to be able to achieve what we have. And so if we're not communicating that, we're leaving that up to be that lack of information to be filled up with whatever is there. And you know, the old saying is, in the absence of communication, negativity tends to fill the void. And so we want to be forthright. We want to lead. This is a leadership intensive type position that we want to be in the driver's seat. We want to be guiding and directing. We have worked hard for our money, and we want our intentions to be clear.
Yeah. You've worked hard for your money and you want your intentions to be clear. Now, that doesn't mean that you have control over every dollar that you give, that you actually don't.
Right.
But it is about sharing the heart. And so the heart and the first area you encourage people to have a conversation around is on earning and work.
Yeah.
So what do your best clients generally, how do they view earning money and work?
You know, I don't think they're the type of people that on Friday night they slam their laptop shut and they say, hey, we're done till Monday. They enjoy work and they view their work as their worship. You know, when we are doing beneficial work, we should view it as though we are worshiping God. And that is a way that we can serve other people. And so the values that we have are carried over into all of our life. If you are a believing Christian, I believe that our lives should be consumed with forthright Christian values, and that it should be evident in everything that we're doing, including work. And so the values and the overlap are there, and so you can't separate them.
One of the questions that you encourage people to ask in that meeting is to lead a conversation and say, hey, in our family, in the history of our family, and your experience with our family, what's an example you saw of hard work or diligent planning that was then rewarded? And so what is the power behind a question like that for someone who's talking to their heirs?
You know, I think the thought process is we want people to start thinking. We want them to start thinking about these things, and it doesn't have to be weird. So much of the time when it comes to money or inheritance, people get weird about it. And this is an invitation to talk about it and to be upfront and honest about what's there and to try to help folks. And so thought-provoking questions can open the door and kind of be an icebreaker to get the conversation going.
Right.
Yeah.
The next area is on savings and discipline. So again, this is a person who's having a conversation, facilitating conversation, setting the stage, and this is really important. We're going to have a very clear and purposeful conversation, not casual. We're going to set a time, or you do it on Zoom or in person. We're going to talk about these topics. The next one is on savings and discipline. I want to highlight one of the first questions and get your thoughts on it. One question that you encourage people to ask is, what's a terrible financial decision you've seen someone make because they wanted something right now instead of waiting? Why does prompting that or having a question like that help the heirs, but also help the person who's giving?
Andy, I bet if we were being honest, we could all find something like that we've done in our lives where we wanted something now and we probably didn't make as good of a decision. And so I think what it does is it invites transparency and it allows people to see that all of our actions have consequences. All of our actions have consequences. And the thing about that is if we don't plan for stuff, we're using limited information to make those decisions. But if we've planned for something and we've thought through all the scenarios, we can normally make a better decision.
So as a person is having this conversation, if they're having a conversation about savings, and they realize, hey, this person has not done a good job of saving. One or two or three, or maybe all of my kids, or whatever, haven't done a good job of saving.
Right.
How can this conversation help their heirs now, before the transfer happens?
Hopefully we're having, in an ideal situation, we're having this conversation 25, 30 years out from when someone might inherit the money. And I don't know about you, but I've seen things change in my life and people change. People get it together. And so it's an invitation for people to start taking more responsibility, whether that's our kids or whoever might inherit the money. The last thing in the world we want to do is to leave money to someone and for it to be a curse to them. And we've all seen those examples. I mean, I've seen it here in our practice. People inherit money and then they lose their job because they couldn't show up because they didn't need to work, that's air quotes, anymore. And so it's an invitation to say, hey, this gift is here for responsible people, but if we're not responsible, we might not be ready to receive it. It's just like with our children. You wouldn't ask I have an 8-year-old. I wouldn't expect my 8-year-old to be able to drive me to work this morning. But when she's 16, I'm really hopeful that she'll be able to drive me to work. And so she's got a runway to be able to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's the goal. We want to set people up and give them as much grace as we can. It's really an invitation in grace, and that's what God has extended to us with the favor that He has shown us. And so we want to extend grace to people and try to help them, and especially our kids, those who we love most.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The last part of the conversation, of the initial conversation, is I think the largest sections. We'll spend some time on this one.
Yeah.
Is on giving and legacy. So
right.
Essentially, again, setting up this situation is that you have some funds, and that could be $10,000, it could be $10 million, but you have got funds that you're going to be transferring on to your heirs, and you want them to be good stewards of it. It's about stewardship. You've been a good steward, and you want to help them become good stewards. But it's going to be your money that you're helping them become good stewards of.
Yes.
So the next section is on giving and legacy. So what are the areas of giving and legacy that you have seen clients try to pass on to their heirs?
Yeah, I mean, when we're reviewing tax returns, it becomes pretty evident where people's priorities are. And you often see for people that have this mindset that they've given money to their church or to different causes that they're passionate about. And so a lot of times people want to extend that. I mean, I have one client that she doesn't expect her kids to continue giving when she passes, and so she's giving now more than she normally would. And so if that's the case, there's a lot of different solutions that we can use, whether that's donor-advised funds, where that money goes to a fund and then it's distributed based on your wishes at a certain point. But more importantly, we want our kids to get the benefit of being generous. You want to teach them to just like we teach our kids to put money in the offering plate now when they're little, we want them to still put money in the offering plate. There's only one thing that God offers an invitation for us to test Him on, and it's in giving. And so we can't be too generous with what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is a interesting question that a person would ask their heirs, which is, what is their view? So the Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children.
Yes.
So if you're having that conversation with your children and you bring this topic up and you say, the Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So how does that change how you view the money that you're going to get, or does it? That's a really pointed question.
Are you asking, do you think that people should make accommodations for their grandkids, or do you think that
Well, I just think as a point of conversation, you're sitting with your kid and you're saying, hey, I'm trying to help out my children's children, which is
Right,
the grandkids.
right,
And I think it's putting some pressure on the parent to say, of the grandkids to say, hey, this isn't all yours.
right.
I'm trying to help the children's children. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've always read it that it was my responsibility to take care of my grandkids. And
But also, I think that is.
Yeah.
But I think it's also like, hey, I'm trying to help the grandkids.
Right.
Let's make sure we're helping the grandkids.
You know what's really interesting that I've observed? When people come in that have accumulated wealth and they're trying to figure out how to give it to their kids or what to do with it, and they have inherited wealth from their family. And so, just like the Bible talks about the sins of the father or the sins of the son, I think that works with positive things too. When someone instilled those values into somebody, that probably made it easier for them to live those values and accumulate money and know how to work hard because they were taught that with an awesome legacy that they've had and that birthright that they were born into. And so the point here is not just to dump money on your kids, is to be able to create a cycle where they are generous and they are good and they're faithful to God's word and what he has commanded us to do. And so that's the whole point of what we're doing. We're trying to change society by instilling good values into people. The problem with our world, in my view right now, is people have lost values. They don't know why they're living and what they live for. And so they just do whatever they want to do. Just kind of like, this is a crude example, but maybe just like an animal that gets up and their objective that day is to look for food. That's their only objective. And whatever comes up that day, if they see they want to chase this other animal, they go that way. And that's what we're trying to war against, because that's what the enemy would have for us.
Yeah. I think of, and I actually think there's a remake of this, and it's coming out, or it's come out very recently, but Lord of the Flies.
Oh, really? Yeah, I read it. Yeah.
It's a really troubling book.
It
but
is.
It's also because they lose their values, essentially. Right. These kids are dropped on an island, and for a while they try to maintain order. I think they're from a military school. So they understand order, right? Then there's a fracture, and then, obviously there's chaos and there's destruction as a result of that, right? And I think what you're trying to instill to people who are listening today, and listen, if you're listening to this or watching this, if you've had this conversation or not.
Yeah.
And I would submit 95% of people have not had this conversation.
I would easily. Yeah.
And I just wonder why. It's not like you can't have it until you figure out why. But I just think it's a difficult conversation.
Well,
and I'm not sure exactly who it's difficult for. I think it's actually, let me ask you this. Who do you think it's more difficult for, and why is it difficult?
Well, I am so far in the woods on this topic and working with folks on this that sometimes it's hard to see the trees for the forest.
Who do you think struggles with the conversation and why? So let's just say, is it the 70-year-old?
I think the separation. I think probably the 75-year-old, if I had to guess. But I think that the point here is that as Christians, we know that this world is not our home and that we're going to a better place. And so this shouldn't be a dim or dark thing. And, the other thing, too, is this is an opportunity for gratitude. It's, number one, an opportunity for gratitude that someone is responsible enough to say, hey, I'm not always going to be here. You've seen the people that they're 80 years old and they don't want to accept the fact that they're going to die one day. Nobody wants to be like that, or I don't think so. And so it's an opportunity for gratitude. Hey, I've got this parent that is living and they're in sound mind and they're doing something that is an act of love. This is an act of love that you're having a conversation like this with your kids so that they can mentally prepare and plan and know what you wanted. And so it also is an act of gratitude in the sense that, hey, my dad is only 55 or 60 or whatever, and he's in good health, and so I expect him to be here till 85 or 90 or whatever. And so I have the gratitude that I have 25 or 30 more years with him. I want to make the most out of that. I don't know, but I think things change a lot for folks when their parents pass away. And my mom passed away, I think I might have mentioned to you, Andy, before, a few years ago. And I mean, I was just talking to my daughter this morning on the way to school about my mom. And so you start to think about things in a different light when your parents pass away, and you think about all the things that you wish you could have said or the experiences you're having that you wish they would have had. And so this point of this is an opportunity for gratitude for us to get serious about making the most out of our days. The one thing that we can never get more of is time. And so this is allowing us to earmark our time and to know that, hey, we've done something hard. And something that I'm trying to instill in our daughters is the more hard things you do in life, the further ahead you get. Most people don't get ahead in life because they're unwilling to do hard things. And so if you can wake up every morning and lift heavy weight, or get on the phone and call that person you don't want to call about this job opportunity or whatever, you get ahead. And so this is just an opportunity to get ahead.
Absolutely. And I would encourage you who are listening or watching, take to heart what David just said about a difficult conversation. I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
It's such a difficult, it might be a generational thing to some degree of just, we keep some things private and we do other things where, those I think in their 40s and 50s have been raised, and it's more, they just kind of talk about more things and it's more transparency. And
right.
But I think those in an older generation, but I will say this, I am confident that your heirs want to have more information than less.
Yeah.
And that if you are worried about how your heirs are going to handle the funds that you've worked so hard to accumulate, or maybe you've gotten from someone else that you want to make sure are used well, then you don't have to worry. You just have to have the conversation, right? And so we've got other conversations that we're going to have guide and opinions on. And steps to follow. The next conversation we're going to talk about in our next episode is actually saying to your heirs, here's how I think it would be wise for you to use the funds, and be very specific about that, and actually guide them on how they can bless others, themselves, and future generations with the funds that you give them. So that's going to be really, really practical, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts on that one. So thanks for that, David, and we'll have you back for the next episode, obviously, and we'll talk about some more specifics of what we want heirs to know when they are given funds.
Thanks, Andy. I'm excited to do it with you. Appreciate it.
I have to edit this again because my stop button is not working again. Let me stop the split screen, separate views. It's funny, this has happened a couple times where I can't stop the recording or start the recording.
It's just like a bug or something?
Yeah, so let me see if the leave button works. And that works. That's weird. Huh. I mean, what happens if I reload the page?
Okay.
Changes may not be saved. I don't want to do that. Mark clip. Oh, crap. Give me 1 second.
It's all right.
I'm meeting with Craig tomorrow, by the way.
Oh, you are? Yeah. What did he say he wanted to meet about?
He didn't say, so I'm actually going to email him and say, hey, what's the topic?
Yeah.
I don't like to go into conversations not knowing what we're talking about. So
I don't either.
I don't want to waste his time or mine. So
right.
I don't want to be a jerk about it. But
I kind of wonder if he's got like a side project he's doing with his wife, because he copied his wife on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think her name's Sharon. I felt like, I appreciated it because I'm Mr. Nice Guy, that you were a little bit forceful with the situation, but I did not expect him to come back and say that. That kind of took me by surprise.
Say that I did a good job?
Well, yeah.
You thought I burned the bridge?
Well, I didn't think you burned the bridge, but you were a little bit like assertive with it, which I'm not assertive enough. So I appreciated that. And I mean, that's why I had you in the conversation, I felt like. So you did what I asked you to do. Or, I mean, I was not upset at all, but I thought that you kind of put them on the hot seat and they didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And I reserved some of my,
I could tell.
I was like, that's a bad idea. But
So I had a call, changing subjects. I had a call with the creative people, and they were all just kind of out of whack this morning or yesterday, going back and forth in some emails. So they asked to do a Zoom earlier. They're going to send they're making the ads, and they're going to send those out by like next week. And so if you don't mind, I'll just run them by you and see if you have any critiques of them for Facebook. And we're going to spend $4,500 promoting it. What'd you say?
I said, wowza.
Well, I've got an option. I've got three things. I've sent you an invitation. I've been spent like the last 2 days making, believe it or not, with the newsletter, and what I'm going to do is just mail that out to 2,600 people here in Spartanburg and try to promote the workshop and do that. And then
Is that finalized, or can I help with it?
no, it's not finalized. I just like literally been working on it. I just sent it to this in a rough draft. I haven't sent it to
I
compliance.
just opened it today. Like
Yeah,
half
yeah.
hour
I
before the
just
call.
I just sent it to you.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Well, I'm gonna throw it in Canva and kind of tweak some stuff. But
yeah.
I've been doing a lot of stuff with graphic stuff lately because I've been trying to work on some other stuff on my own projects. So
Okay.
all right.
Yeah.
Well, here's the deal. I think if I close this,
Okay.
because Riverside uploads as we go, so I think
Okay.
if I stop this, if I like close the screen, we'll keep the recording, so we should be good.
Okay.
So hopefully that's good to go.
Do you want me to log out or something?
I think it's going to kick us out. I'm trying to close this. So, and then I'm going to email you our next link for our next call. Okay?
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.
Check
Bye.
your email.
All right.